Everyone's so bright and early. And before I answer questions, I just want to say a couple remarks. That had to be one of the most uninspiring throne speeches I've ever heard. No plan for how to get Ontario out of this pandemic. Nothing about the chronic nursing shortages, the support small businesses need, the investments needed to keep our schools safe, and absolutely no vision about what a post-pandemic world can look like. Nothing about the housing crisis, nothing about the climate crisis, nothing concrete about the mental health and addictions crisis facing this province. So the Premier said that we needed to have a reset in response to the federal election. He didn't talk about anything that was brought up in the federal election. $10 a day childcare, the climate crisis, the housing crisis, etc. So I don't even know what the purpose of this morning's exercise was, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
What should be done with Lindsay Park?
Well, I think MPPs have a responsibility to their colleagues and to their constituents to be honest. I think honesty is an important part of being an elected official. And if any member of my caucus, obviously only a caucus of one at this point, but if any member of our caucus misled their constituents and their colleagues, they wouldn't be sitting in caucus.
Mike, just back to your points about, they said they prorogued because of the election. What did you expect to be in there that wasn't?
Well, I thought there might be some discussion of some of the issues that were talked about in the election. I mean, the new government, their signature promise is $10 a day childcare. 8 other provinces have an agreement with the federal government. Ontario does not. I was hoping to hear a commitment that Ontario would bring in $10 a day childcare. The climate crisis was a big part of the election. Didn't even mention the word in the throne speech. Housing affordability was a huge issue. Every party brought up in the federal campaign. Nothing about affordable housing in the throne speech. So I don't think the Premier pretty much addressed any of the issues that were front and center in the federal campaign.
So why do you think they did? Why do you think they prorogued then?
You'll have to ask the Premier, because I thought they prorogued because they wanted to put forward a new vision to Ontarians about how we would get through the pandemic and the beginnings of what a post-pandemic Ontario would look like. We saw none of that in the throne speech.
Mike, what do you think about the double standard? Rick Nichols refused to get vaccinated, but he told the truth about it, and was kicked out of the Tory caucus. Lindsay Park, according to the Tories, did not tell them the truth about being vaccinated, and she hasn't been kicked out. She's been demoted from as a parliamentary assistant, but she hasn't been fired from the caucus. Are you surprised by that?
Yeah, I think the Premier just needs to come out of hiding and be held accountable on why honesty with constituents and colleagues isn't a top priority for his government and for his members.
So she was dishonest, and Mr. Nichols was honest.
Yeah, and so in a sense, he was punished for being honest, and she hasn't been punished for being dishonest. So I guess the Premier will need to answer to why that's the standards he holds his caucus to. Great, thanks everyone. Enjoy the. Oh, yes,
sorry. Can you just comment on what's going on federally with the Green Party right now? I mean, I know you have another member in Ontario, but Anna Paul's out. Elizabeth May says she's not going to be interim. Like, what's happening there, and what role do you think you can play as a provincial leader?
Well, first of all, I'll say that the federal Green Party and the Ontario Green Party are completely separate organizations with different organizational cultures and governance structures. And my recommendation to my federal cousins is to take a look in the mirror, hold yourself accountable, and rebuild your organizational culture and your governance structure. And in terms of the party I lead and that I'm responsible for, I want everybody in this province to know that we are taking concrete actions to combat systemic racism, sexism, and anti-Semitism in our party. We have a code of conduct and a diversity safe spaces process and policies in our party that are enforced, and we have officers that enforce them. We have a specific fund, and I want to thank our members for all the donations that have been made to a fund specifically to support equity-deserving candidates. We're actively recruiting equity-deserving candidates, and we will fund your campaigns, and we will support you and we will make sure that our party is a safe space for everyone in this province.
So how do you think of, looking back on how Annamie Paul, what happened with Annamie Paul, how do you think she was treated by the party? And, you know, if the party does need to be rebuilt, how do you heal from that?
Yeah, you know, I said this publicly months ago, and I think I've demonstrated it with my actions in campaigning with Annamie Paul, that she was the democratically elected leader of the party. She deserves the time and space, or I should say in past tense at this point, unfortunately, deserve the time and space to be a leader and to lead the party into a federal election with unity behind her and with support behind her. And so I want to remind everyone once again, the Ontario Greens and the federal Greens are separate parties with very different governance structures and organizational cultures, but we share similar values. And so I encourage the federal Green Party to completely rebuild the party in a way that addresses challenges within the organizational culture and the governance structure of the party, so that leaders who are duly elected by the members actually have the ability to lead the party with the party's support behind them.
Micah, do you have any do you have any interest in running for that role now that it's open and making some of those changes happen firsthand?
Yeah, I will not be running for leader of the federal Green Party. I love being leader of the Ontario Green Party, and I also love being the MPP for Guelph, and I'm looking forward to leading the provincial party into the next provincial election, because I know why it is so important to have more Green MPPs here at Queen's Park. I think I've been a very effective opposition member as a caucus of one, and just imagine what we can accomplish with a caucus of 3, 4, 5 or more Green MPPs, and so that's what my focus is right now. Great, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great day. It was nice the premiere started at 9 this morning. Gave you all plenty of time to follow your stories, eh? Okay, take care.